Coming up, the aftermath of Hurricane Ian.
And later, healthcare workers overwhelmed with workload.
Guys couldn't claw back against the Wolverines. We'll tell you more in sports.
The weather out here at Kinnick is great, but it will not last all week. I'll tell you more in weather.
All that and more coming up on this Monday morning edition of DITV News. Don't go anywhere. DITV News starts right now. Good morning, and thank you for tuning in live to DITV and KRUI 89.7 FM. I'm Ashley Weil. After Hurricane Ian made landfall in Florida on Thursday, the entire state was devastated by the Category 4 storm. The storm ravaged many well-known cities, including Orlando and Fort Myers. The death toll has now surpassed 60 people from Florida, the Carolinas, and Cuba. And more than 40,000 people have been misplaced and only around 1,000 have been rescued. Beaches and ports in Southwest Florida were completely destroyed and will have a long road to recovery. The storm cut people off from electricity, food, and shelter, and some areas of the state had historic storm surges between 8 to 12 feet, along with wind gusts that reached up to 155 miles per hour. Early estimates speculate that the total damages will total around $40 million. Along with that, only 20% of homeowners did not have flooding insurance, which will also throw another obstacle in the path of rebuilding. Before the storm, public supermarkets donated perishable items to local first response teams to aid the rescue mission. Several corporations such as Hy-Vee, Lowe's, and AT&T, along with others, are sending relief to the state by offering out a lending hand. President Joe Biden will be visiting Florida on Wednesday to assess the damages and prepare for rebuilding efforts. And nurses at the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics gathered outside the hospital on Thursday, September 29th, to protest overwhelming nurse-to-patient ratios. Daily Iowa News reporter Emily Nyberg is live in the newsroom right now to tell us more. Emily, what has changed with nurse-to-patient ratios?
In the past at UIHC, nurses have cared for around 3 patients a day, but this number is rising and they are going to be expected to care for around 5 people a day. This is due to a lack of nurses and a surplus of patients.
And why exactly is this concerning to the nursing staff?
When they have too many patients in their caseload, nurses are not able to provide the same quality and efficiency of care. It is also concerning because a surplus of patients can have an impact on nurses' mental health.
And what will now come from the protest?
It's hard to say if anything will come from the protests. Hospital staffing needs change based on the number of patients, so it's hard for UIHC to control nurse-to-patient ratios without turning people away. Laura Shoemaker, UIHC Media Relations team member, wrote in a statement to the Daily Iowan that the hospital is not ignoring nurse concerns. They are currently trying to combat the issue by bringing in travel nurses to support staff. Back to you, Ashley.
Thank you, Emily. And 7 Americans are coming home after being released from a Venezuelan prison. President Joe Biden approved a prisoner swap with Venezuela, the largest mass release of American prisoners in the Biden administration. The swap took place on Saturday night in the Caribbean island. The U.S. is releasing 2 of the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro's family members, who were jailed on drug charges in 2015, in exchange for the 7 Americans. The Biden administration is working to repair relations with Venezuela as a potential source of oil. The prisoner exchange could be the first step to improve this relationship between the 2 countries.
That has now put a price tag on Americans. Every time you do one of these deals, and I wanted those people released as much as anybody, but every time you do this, now others know I can take Americans, I can hold them until I need something. As a bar
has erupted for President Biden's willingness to exchange the criminals. A senior administration official said the decision was a, quote, tough and painful decision, end quote. And now let's toss it over to Ethan live at Kinnick Stadium to tell us if the weather this week is going to be as nice as it was this past Saturday during the game.
Yeah, Ashley, at least to start out the week, that's what it's looking like. But fall weather is expected to progressively take hold as the week goes on. But for today, we are expecting pretty nice weather. Today we're expecting weather more similar to summer than fall, with highs near 75 and clear skies. Tonight, though, the temps will drop into the 50s. Tomorrow will be almost identical, but with some clouds. Wednesdays, the temps will stay, but there's about a 40% chance of rain. Unfortunately, Thursday and Friday are expected to bring fall temps. Thursday will be mostly cloudy with temps in the high 60s, and Friday will be the same skies, but about 10 degrees colder. Now, I think this is a great time to tell you guys all about the importance of wearing your sunscreen. As you can tell, I did not. I covered the football game this past Saturday, which I'll tell you more about right now. Wow, what a game. I know the final score, 14-27, may not show it, but Iowa really made a game out of this one. In the middle of the fourth, Michigan stopped Iowa's final shot of getting within one touchdown of the Wolverines. This all but sealed the victory for U of M. This game was featured on FS1's Big Noon Kickoff. Hawkeye fans may remember the last time Big Noon came to town, as it was that fantastic win over Penn State. Unfortunately, this game did not go as well as that one. After U of M stopped the Hawks in the middle of the fourth, both teams would score garbage time touchdowns, inflating the final score and stats of the game. Iowa's historic offensive woes showed at times, but the team did show some flashes of potential. Iowa's quarterback, Spencer Petras, had a solid game through the air, throwing for 246 yards and a touchdown. But Iowa's run game was stagnant, only putting up 35 yards. But they did score a touchdown. Michigan's offense looked polished, with no turnovers and over 325 yards. One big disappointment in the game, though, was penalties, whether deserved or not. It seemed every time Iowa tried to get their offense rolling, a costly penalty would stop them in their tracks.
You know, typically we're in the upper third penalty-wise, and I think we're somewhere in that neighborhood right now. So to have 6 major penalties, that's kind of uncharacteristic. Maybe we're just overwhelmed talent-wise, or maybe our guys are that sloppy.
Iowa now sits at 3-2 on the season. The team travels to Urbana-Champaign next Saturday, October 8th, to take on the University of Illinois Fighting Illini. Now let's throw it back to the studio, where AJ will finish up sports.
Thanks, Ethan. The Iowa field hockey team returned to Grant Field this weekend for 2 Big Ten matchups. The Hawks took on 4th-ranked Maryland on Friday, and it was a scoreless game for the first 3 quarters before Iowa took the lead in the 42nd minute off a steal from a Maryland pass. Only 2 minutes later, Maryland tied the game off of a penalty corner, and the game remained scoreless, sending the 2 teams into overtime. Maryland would score 3 minutes in off a penalty corner, ending Iowa's undefeated record at Grant Field. Iowa then bounced back when they faced number 21 Rutgers yesterday. It was a low-scoring game with the lone goal coming from Leah Zellner in the 13th minute, giving the Hawks their 3rd conference win of the season. Head coach Lisa Salucci said after the game, "That was a lot of resilience and grit by our defense today. That is a hard team to play. They are very physical, especially with all the overheads and how hard they hit the ball," end quote. The Hawks will travel to Pennsylvania this weekend to take on Penn State and James Madison University. And the Iowa women's soccer team outdid the football team against Michigan this weekend, but not by much. After blowing another lead, Iowa tied the Wolverines 1-1. The Hawks were leading with 5 minutes left in the game when Michigan's Meredith Hawkinson scored on the penalty kick to hand Iowa their 5th tie of the season. This is the Hawks' 4th Big Ten Conference game where they had a lead going into half and either ended up losing or tying.
You know, it's my responsibility to help them understand how to, to play with the lead. I thought we played well enough to not tie.
The Hawks now prepare to take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers in Minneapolis on Sunday. Come back Wednesday for the latest Hawkeye sports. Back to you, Ashley.
Thanks. And to mark off the start of spooky season, Disney Plus released Hocus Pocus 2 on September 30th. The first film came out in 1993 and has left fans waiting 29 years to finally experience the second movie. The sequel will bring a nostalgic feel to the audience and previous generations. Be ready for a Halloween thrill as the Sanderson sisters are returning again after the infamous Black Flame is relit. Salem needs saving, and and it can now be viewed on Disney+. Thank you for tuning into DITV News and listening to KRUI 89.7 FM. I'm Ashley Weil.